Well, good afternoon and welcome to Thinking Tuesday. Yes, it's that last Tuesday of the month where we come together to check in with how we're thinking. Where has that thought, that particular thought, and you know which thought I'm thinking about, or where have those thoughts taken you since we last spoke, even up until today? What thoughts are leading you to action? What thoughts are you allowing to take you into a certain emotional state? And then what are those emotions leading you to do? What action? Because we know that as I think, so I feel, as I feel, so I do, and as I do, I have a result. Whether it's negative or positive, you are the captain. You are the captain of your ship. And to remind those of you who have been here before on Thinking Tuesday, and to let those of you who are here for the first time of our motto. Our motto says it all. Your mind is a garden. Your thoughts are the seeds that you plant. And you, the gardener, can choose. I love that word choose. You can choose to either grow flowers, which are the positive thoughts, the positive mindset, the resourceful mindset, or you can choose again to grow weeds. And those weeds are those negative thoughts, the negative mindset, the can't do attitude that just they lead you to results that you don't want. And then you wonder, well, how did I get here? Check in with your thoughts. That's where the secret is. So I want to welcome you again to Thinking Tuesday and to let you know that at the end of every month, we have these messages. I give this message. And the one that I've been thinking about mostly um, is one of self leadership. Now, I am in the process of an of authoring a book with some other coach colleagues of mine about different forms of leadership. And I'm always thinking about leadership, but it really got me to thinking more about a particular type of leadership that we all have. We're all leaders. You know, we're not born leaders, but we learn to be leaders. And we can choose what type of leaders we want to be. And that is the gift of self leadership. I'm just giving you a little peek of some of the things that I am speaking about in that portion of the book that I'm authoring. And you should be hearing more about it. Should be out sometime in the early fall, I would say, but you'll hear more about it. But I'm thinking about the gift of self leadership, and I think how exciting is it to have the opportunity and the freedom to shape and develop your identity as a leader. Many times we think about leaders as people who are elected, people who are appointed, and sometimes we even say, oh, he's a born leader or she's a born leader. Nobody's born a leader. Leaders are developed, and we all have our own style. And you are a leader also, because leadership has to do with how you live your life. And the type of leader that you are in your own life is going to determine the type of leader in the role that you might be assigned to at some later date, or the role that you choose to, or that you're appointed to. But you are a leader, and I want to spend some time sharing some of my thoughts about that self leadership with you, because I think our greatest asset is our ability to think and make decisions. That's what makes us leaders, how we think and the decisions that we make. Hopefully, those decisions are in the best interest in our best interest as well as in the interest of others, because we are not living just for ourselves. Others are affected by the decisions we make and for the actions and by the actions that we take. So we always have to consider, how is my leadership? How is my self leadership affecting those that I love, those that I'm responsible for, those that I care for, or anyone in my surroundings, my neighbors, my coworkers, certainly my family members, those in organizations that we might have a leadership role in. We're always making decisions. And that is a very, very important part of self leadership. Every day, you and I are choosing what kind of leader we want to be, either by default or by design. Sometimes you just get lucky. Things go your way and then you lead by default. Some things just fall in your lap. A particular role just falls in your lap, or people say, "Oh, why don't you do this because you're good at this," and you're off and running, And so you lead by default. But wouldn't it be better? And I think it's better when we lead our lives by design, when we make a choice, a, a, a choice after thinking about it, when we make a definitive choice of what type of leader we want to be. And it doesn't mean that we're just static as a leader, because leadership is always evolving, and we have to allow ourselves to be in a position to be flexible, even when we're confident in what we're doing, but being flexible because we're dealing with people. You know, we don't want to be controlling. There's just too much of that going on in the world today, unfortunately. And might I say at this point that this self leadership is even more important in these days when there's such erratic leadership, which is really not leadership, but self-aggrandization, self-aggrandization, just about ego, not thinking about how decisions are affecting other people. It's much better to lead your life by design than by default. To be intentional about who you want to be and what kind of life you want to have. And I've been thinking about some self leadership lessons that I have been learning. I'm going through a particularly challenging time in my life now. My 103-year-old mother, who I love so much and who lives with me and who has been a positive force in my life, is very ill. She's currently in the hospital. She was in rehab previously, and now she's back in the hospital, and I've been spending most of my time there. And so I find myself looking at the way I lead my life. Of course, I have a business, but I love my mother, so how do I do both of those things harmoniously? Of course, I have to prioritize. That's one leadership lesson. And I have to feel comfortable with the decisions I make, but sometimes I have to make uncomfortable decisions if they are in the best interest of those that I'm leading. Also, we have some other leadership lessons, at least leadership lessons that I'm learning about. And that has to do with accountability. It has to do with how can I lead and be accountable. I was at the hospital today. Did I say, well, I'm at the hospital, I'm not going to do this lesson? No, I found a way to do it. So there are certain things as leaders, when we're developing ourselves as leaders, when we're developing that self-leadership, that we have to look at also. There might be days when I'm not able to take care of everything that I want to, but I have to constantly prioritize. I'm holding myself accountable. I also learned that I have to be flexible. There's some times when I might have to shift some appointments as long as I do it in give it enough notice, as long as it's something that I can do, I can manage. But self leadership has to do with how flexible can you allow yourself to be. I find myself also thinking about physician, heal thyself. Now, as a coach and a psychotherapist, I work with people on very challenging areas of their lives, transitions that they're making, very uncomfortable situations that they're in, uncomfortable decisions. And I have to help them to manage those emotions and the thoughts that might be leading them to do things that will not be in their best interest. So I don't teach theory. I find myself using some of those same techniques as a neuroencoding specialist, helping my clients to learn how to default to their best behaviors. I have to use that as well. Things such as the stop technique, when I have to use positive thoughts to replace negative or unresourceful thoughts that don't take me anywhere, or certainly don't take me to where I would like to be. So, in developing a self identity, a self leadership identity, it's very, very important to always be evaluating yourself. Self scrutiny is so important. You can't have a thin skin. You cannot have a thin skin because we're all um, no one is perfect. That's what I mean. We all have faults, and sometimes they're the most difficult things for us to see. And even when we see them, they're the most difficult things to change because they're familiar, because we've gotten comfortable in them. So self leadership really has a lot to do with the ability to self evaluate. There are some questions that I find that are very useful in developing your self leadership, and that is, what do you want? Can you answer that question? What do you want? And when you can answer that question, it helps to give clarity to the decisions that you're going to make and the results that you're going to get. And then you want to ask, well, why do I want that? That also gives you more clarity in developing a path to get where you want to get. So, what I'm saying to you is that everyone is a leader. You don't have to be appointed a leader. You are a leader. You're leading your life. Every day you're making that choice. Make sure that the choice you're making will benefit you, will not harm others. You're making it with the best information that you have at the time, and not be afraid to elevate your leadership. As you elevate your mindset, keep an open mind. Just because things have been done in a certain way doesn't mean they always have to be done in that way. I also, in my self leadership journey, I find myself always looking for lessons, life lessons. Currently, I'm looking at life lessons. What is this period of challenge in my life? What lessons am I learning from this period in my life? And to tell you the truth, I'm learning a lot of lessons. A lot of lessons. The lessons are always there. We just have to find them. So never be afraid to ask questions. What is this period in my life teaching me? I've never had to make some of the decisions that I'm making now about my mother's health. Of course, with the help and the input of my siblings and other family members. I reflect on lessons taught that I learned from my mom. What does she like? What would she like? Am I doing or making certain decisions in her best interest and not for my comfort? That's part of self leadership. And then the last thing I want to say about self leadership, which is this is not certainly an exhaustive list, but I can't end this message without self care. Self care. I have to take care of myself also as a caregiver, and I know lots of you out there are in the same boat. We find ourselves giving, giving, and giving, but how are we taking care of ourselves? So I have to lead with compassion because sometimes we can be the harshest critics of ourselves. I have to lead with empathy. I have to love myself, to give to myself. That's part of self leadership. And I always have to remain open to receiving new information that will take me to higher heights, to help me to remain resourceful, because I truly believe, and this is what keeps me going, that, well, two things actually, two of many things, I should say. I truly believe that we're all fully equipped to have the kind of life that we want to. Life is not going to be easy, life is a challenge. And how we navigate those challenges is going to determine how successful we are as leaders, self leaders. The other thing is that if I change my thinking, I can change my life. Don't hold on to old thoughts just because they're familiar. Old thoughts that don't serve you, that have not been serving you, are going to keep you stuck. And that's not taking care of yourself. So, in your decision making, try to be compassionate. Don't beat yourself up. Celebrate small wins. Pat yourself on the back and look into the mirror and tell yourself, I love you. I love you. It has to start with you. So I wanted to share that with you. It's been a busy, busy time for me, but I wanted to hold myself accountable, and I would not have felt good today, the last Tuesday of June, not doing this Facebook Live. So I want to remind you that your thoughts are your lifeline. You are the gardener of your thoughts. Choose your thoughts well. Cultivate good thoughts because they will dictate how you feel, and how you feel will dictate what you do, and what you do will dictate your results. So keep an eye out. I'll be sharing more about the leadership book that I'm authoring along with some of my coaching colleagues. It should be coming out sometime in early fall, and you'll hear more about my writings on self-leadership, because we all are leaders, and how we lead our lives is going to determine the kind of results we're going to have. Please visit my website. You'll see other programs and services that I offer. This video, along with all of the other Thinking Tuesday videos, is going to be housed on YouTube, Thinking Tuesday, Cheryl Burton. Feel free to go to my website and request a complimentary confidential consultation. If there's some thought, some issue that's not clear to you, that you like to get some feedback, or that you're struggling with, or if you're stuck, whatever it is, feel free to sign up there. And it thrills me when people approach me many, many times, sometimes several days, consecutive days, and tell me how much they're loving my daily thoughts. My daily thoughts are short statements that help you to start your day. Where are your thoughts taking you? How can you build on these thoughts? How can you answer some of these thoughts? Do you have some of these thoughts? How can you reflect on some of these thoughts to help you in your daily life? So, if you're interested in being on my mailing list to get these daily thoughts to help you start your day, please sign up for them through my website. If anyone, that's drcherylburton.com, drcherylburton.com. Sign up and subscribe, request those daily thoughts. You'll get them every single day. Um, and also, if you have them already, feel free to share them with others. They can subscribe through you. So it was a pleasure as usual speaking with you. I look forward to seeing you, to speak to you the last Tuesday of the month of July. So take care. Enjoy your summer. Remember, you are the gardener of your thoughts. You decide if you want to grow flowers or if you want to grow weeds. And I am betting that you're going to grow flowers. Take care, and I will see you next month. Take care. Bye for now.